the entire acronym out, LACAAEA. I would like to thank everyone for attending this morning's workshop presented by the LA County Department of Human Resources. This event is one of many online events that LACAAEA has organized during the pandemic and will continue to provide our members. Besides online events, we also have our inaugural newsletter called the Drum Circle that is available to you when you sign up as a member or as on our email list. We are eager to develop and organize in-person events as soon as possible. And now I would like to introduce the moderator for this morning's event, Elizabeth Hahn, our Program and Events Chair.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Elizabeth Hahn, and I am the Chair of Mentorship and Career Development Committee. We are so happy that you're able to join us today, and we are glad that we're able to offer this workshop online virtually, bringing it to the comfort of your homes and being able to reach a much larger audience. So please feel free to say hi in the chat and introduce yourselves with your name and which department or company, or if you're a student or looking for a job. There's a few housekeeping rules today. The session will be recorded, and please be aware that the session will be available for others to watch at a later time. Please have all mics on mute throughout the entire workshop. And there is a Q&A session at the end. You'll be asked to type in your questions in the chat. Also, there will be one 10-minute break halfway through the workshop. And for those who are unfamiliar or know very little about our association, we are a county employee organization currently focusing on following 4 strategic priorities: advocacy, community service, career development, and connecting. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our wonderful presenters from DHR. Please, if you would introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Cousin, and thank you, Liz, for inviting me to present this morning. I started my career with the county back in December of 2006. So this is my 15th year with exams. And I started as an intermediate typist clerk back when we didn't have online filing systems, when everyone had to submit paper applications for jobs they were interested in. And my career with the county has afforded me a lot of interesting experience in exams. I just love the department so much that I stayed with it. I had a couple of stays at a couple different departments, but I ultimately found my home with DHR, and I followed the career path to my current position as a human resources analyst in the exams unit. Couple of fun facts about me. I love to sing. I love to go to the beach and bask in the sun and enjoy the water. And I love spending time with my family. So it's just a little bit about me. So I'll turn it over to my co-presenter, Elia.
Thank you, Damian.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to join you today. I am Elia Cervantes, and I have been with the county for about 20 years. I started my career as a staff assistant at the Board of Supervisors. I then worked my way up the career ladder, and I currently serve as a human resources analyst at the Department of Human Resources Countywide Talent Assessment Division. My primary experience is in recruitment and selection. A fun fact about me, I love dancing and watching movies. Now I will turn it over to Gionne.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Gionne Bozzi, and like Elia and Damian, I've been with the Department of Human Resources for most of my career. I started in LACAAEA as a senior secretary, and I was advised by a very wonderful manager to apply for the administrative intern program. I applied for it. I didn't get it, unfortunately, but it did lead to the career path that I'm in now. I was picked up off that list. I went into the human resources analyst series, and I'm here. The majority of my experience is in workforce and employee development, and we have been developing, well, now mostly online training sessions, but I've done in-person training, and right now I'm currently working with the management development participants to help them get ready for the next level of their career, which is most likely management and executive positions. And we do everything from career consults to resume consults and anything in between. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to share with you what we have as far as the Career PathFinder and resume guide. So Elizabeth.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. Go ahead. The platform is yours, and you may begin the work without further ado. Thank you. Damian, would you like to start with, these are the topics that we'll be going over today. I believe the presenters have prepared for us is preparing for LA County Civil Service exams, building your resume, and developing your career through Career PathFinder. So, Damian.
It's actually Elia that will start.
Oh, Elia.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm doing that right now. Give me one moment.
No problem. And while we're getting ready, Elia's getting ready, I would like to also mention that our organization, you can be a member. You're welcome to support us. And there are very many efforts that we are currently promoting, including a new distinguished speaker series that's coming up on the 27th. And there's a flyer for that as well. For those who are interested, please let me know. We'll forward it to you. And you can always find us on LACAAEA.com. We'll put that in the chat for you. Thank you. Elia, are you ready? Are we ready?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to open my PowerPoint. So
No worries.
bear with me here. I don't know what's going on here. Let me see. I can't see. So just give me one moment. Here we go.
We do see the PowerPoint.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Here we go.
It's okay.
So it's a view slideshow from the beginning. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so today my colleague Damian and I will be presenting on preparing for Los Angeles County exams. We will be covering the following topics: job search, the job bulletin, filing an application, the job application, the examination process, practice test links, and notifications. The job search. So there are two ways to search for jobs: by visiting the hr.lacounty.gov website. If you're interested in joining the county workforce, click on the yellow box that says looking to join LA County. And if you're currently a county employee and looking for promotion opportunities, then you would click on the red box that says LA County employees only. The job search, LA County has a variety of jobs. You can search open jobs, search and view job descriptions, and explore career paths, which will be covered in another part of the presentation. The job interest card is a great tool to stay updated on jobs of interest. It provides the opportunity to sign up for areas of interest in two ways. Number one would be by category, and number two would be by specific job title. So for the next 12 months, after you submit this form, you will receive an email notification each time a position opens with LA County, whose category matches one of the categories you've chosen. On this example, you can sign up by category. Once you select the areas of interest, click subscribe. Please be sure to complete the job interest card by filling out all fields in their entirety prior to submission. For the exam type, open means open to the public, promotional means open to county employees only, and transfer means transfer opportunities for county employees only. On this example, you can complete the job interest card by a specific job title. On the search box, type in the classification title that you're interested in, such as intermediate typist clerk or management analyst, and so forth. Setting up your profile. Visit the governmentjobs.com/careers/LA County website to set up a profile. If you already have a profile, click on sign in and enter your username and password. If you do not have a profile, click on create one. Create a profile by completing all fields, such as a unique email address, a unique username, and a unique password. It is very important to double check your email address. We've had incidents where applicants enter the incorrect email address, and this causes issues with email communications, such as the applicants not receiving their test invitations or their results notices. So it's important that when you set up your email that you double check it, because sometimes we do, and people enter typos on that. When you set up your profile, you have the option to upload your resume at that time. However, you can also skip this step and upload your resume at a later time when you apply for the actual job. When setting up a profile, it is important to complete all the fields, such as contact information, the work experience, education, and so forth. This will save time when you're ready to apply for a job, since this information will already be there. For county users, we encourage the use of a personal email as opposed to a county email in the event you change departments within the county. This will ensure your email address is always up to date without requiring the need to update and verify each time there is a change in the department. The verify feature will be covered later in the presentation. Now I'll hand it over to my colleague, Damian Cousin.
Thank you, Elia. Okay, thanks. Okay, can everyone see me? Okay, you may visit the DHR website at hr.lacounty.gov for many resources like getting detailed assistance for reviewing job listings, setting up a profile, application information, preparing for an interview, and creating effective resumes. Next slide, please. Okay, whenever there is an opening in the county, we publish what is known as the job bulletin. There's a lot of information contained in the job bulletin, but the most important information that we ask applicants to pay attention to are the minimum requirements, the selection requirements, desirable qualifications, the terms in the requirements, and the exam plan. The minimum requirement is the least amount of education and/or experience needed to qualify to compete for a job. The selection requirement is based on the minimum requirement, but is more stringent. It's typically used when a large number of applicants is anticipated and there is a need to limit the candidate pool to a more qualified candidates. Desirable qualifications, that describes additional qualifications, skills, and experience not considered essential for minimum level job performance, but would improve performance on the job. There are specific terms we use when referring to the required experience under the minimum or selection requirements. At the level of means we are looking for similar experience as compared to one of our classifications. For example, if the requirement is 2 years at the level of Los Angeles County class of intermediate typist clerk, we are looking for experience where the applicant does not have to have held that particular title, but has experience performing similar kinds of duties as those of the intermediate typist clerk. They require similar knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform the job, and has had this experience for the requisite number of years. Now, as A means we are requiring that the applicant currently holds or has held the requisite payroll title. For example, if the requirement is 2 years as a Human Resources Analyst 1, the only applicants that will qualify are those who currently hold or have held the payroll title of Human Resources Analyst 1 for at least 2 years. No other experience will be considered in this particular case. The exam plan. So this refers to the test hurdles and the test types that each qualifying candidate will be required to take. We have many test hurdles, but our most commonly used ones are the multiple choice tests, structured interviews, and writing assessments. The exam plan will provide detailed information on which test hurdles will be used, the competencies that each hurdle will test, and each of their percentage weights toward the overall score. The test types are the possible means by which the test will be administered. For example, one of our most popular, the multiple choice test, it can be a paper and pencil test, which is administered in person. The multiple choice test can also be an online computerized test, which can be administered in person or unproctored. Next slide, please. Okay, now we'll talk about filing an application. Our careers page will have a list of all jobs that are open for filing. Before applying, it's very important that the applicant is aware of the filing type, whether it's open to the public, open to county employees only, or is a transfer opportunity. It is equally important that the applicant has read the minimum or selection requirements. And if there's an educational requirement, the applicant will need to provide proof of that education. So we encourage each applicant to make sure either the degree or the official transcripts are available to upload at the time of filing. The job postings are listed on our careers page as indicated by the link on this slide. And don't worry, we'll be sending a copy of this presentation to everyone, so you don't have to worry about getting all of the links written down just now. Okay, so you're looking at the careers page and you see the administrative analyst position that looks interesting to you. So you click on the job title. You've read the bulletin, you see what the requirements are, and you decide that you want to apply. So there's going to be a green apply button at the top right corner of the bulletin that you'll click. And if you have not already done so, you will be required to log in with the credentials you used when you were setting up your profile. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are some pretty important components of the job application that will determine whether or not an application is accepted. First and most important is the previous work history and job duty statements. So many applicants have a lot of work history and like to refer the exam analyst to an attached resume to review their work history. We do discourage that and ask that applicants take the time to enter the work history and scope of duties performed at each job. Next is the proof of education or certification, etc. If there is an educational requirement, for example, it's important that the applicant has the degree and or official transcripts available and ready to upload at the time of filing. Otherwise, this will delay the applicant's process through the exam. And finally, the supplemental questionnaire. So these are questions that are specific to the minimum or selection requirements. The applicants may have stated experience in various fields on the job application, but the questionnaire is limited to only that experience that potentially meets the minimum or selection requirements. So the applicant must provide a description of their experience that will demonstrate to the exam analyst that they do meet the requirements to qualify. And the stated experience in the supplemental questionnaire must also have been stated on the job application under the work history section as well. And when you're, this is a really good tip that we like to give applicants, when you're providing a description of your duties, be as detailed as possible. So for example, if I have supervisory experience, I'm not going to just put that I supervised employees. I'm going to expand on that and detail the number of employees I supervised, things like the level of the employees I supervised. For example, I supervised 2 analysts and 3 personnel assistants. And I'm going to state that I conduct performance evaluations, determine work schedules, etc. I'm just going to make sure that I give as much detail as possible. And this does help the exam analyst to review and make a decision appropriately. So as much as you can, give as much detail. Next slide, please. Okay, so applicants are encouraged to apply early during the filing period due to the new validation feature, which is an email verification code that will be sent to your email address. So for this reason, we encourage applicants to add this email to their list of trusted senders. And the email verification code for the validation feature comes from noreply@governmentjobs.com. So as a reminder for county users, we do encourage the use of a personal email as opposed to a county email in the event you change departments within the county. This will ensure your email address is always up to date without requiring the need to update and verify each time there is a change in the department. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just an example of the email that you'll receive once you get to that page that was just shown in the previous slide. You'll get this email, and as you see, it provides you with that six-digit code. So Elia, if you can go to the previous slide really quick, please. Okay, at the very bottom of the page, there's a field there for the verification code. So you'll just enter that 6-digit code there and then click accept and submit, and then you will have submitted your application. Okay, next slide to the examination process, please. Okay, so the examination process. Once the analyst has determined that you qualify for the exam, the next step is to schedule you for the test hurdles. So the test schedule notifications are sent via email to the email address listed on the application. And you'll see that we're repeating this throughout various slides, so it's very important. Make sure the email address is correct. And you want to prevent emails from being identified as spam. So on the job bulletin, we give you specific email addresses to add to your address book as accepted senders to ensure that, or approved senders, sorry, to ensure that the email is sent to your regular inbox and is not filtered over to your spam or junk mailbox. And we make sure, and we emphasize this because if we do send a test schedule notice to you and you send us, and we receive an email saying, oh, I never saw the email, or it was filtered to my spam or junk mail, that's not something that we will accept as a reason to approve rescheduling that test for you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we also include in our job bulletins various links to the practice tests. There is one on our website to practice for the various competencies on the paper and on the multiple choice test, paper and pencil ones. We also have a link to practice test for the online computerized system. That is the second link that you see there. And also there's a link there if one of the hurdles is a structured interview, this will the interview tips that will assist you in preparing for the interview. Okay, next slide. Okay, candidates that have passed all of the test hurdles and received an overall passing score of at least 70% or higher will be placed on our eligible list, and they will be placed in a specific band. And you'll notice there that there are 6 bands, and each band on that list represents its own range of scores. So on your result notice that you'll receive, you'll be given your final score and also a list of these bands and the range of scores in each of those bands. So you have an idea of where you've placed on that list. And once the eligible list is created, it is sent out to all of the departments that have the vacancies for that position. And it is at that point out of our hands and up to each department's hiring managers to canvass that list and start contacting candidates for their selection interviews. Next slide, please. Okay, notifications. So our test invitation and final result notices will be sent via emails. And once again, we're going to emphasize it's very important that you make sure that your contact information is always up to date, especially the email address. Next slide, please. Okay, so that concludes our portion of the presentation today. There is contact information for both Elia and myself. Our email addresses are there. And again, as I said, we will be sending this PowerPoint out to everyone, and it will include the contact information for both Elia and myself, just in case you have any questions beyond what is covered today. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And Liz, I will hand it back over to you.
Hi, thank you, Damian and Elia, for a wonderful presentation. I already have questions on my own that I would like to ask in the process of this. And I'm glad that I'm joining in as well and listening, because every time we hosted one of these career workshops, I myself had to be busy in the background running around and never paying attention to any other presenters. So I made my own notes here already. Thank you. So before we invite Johnny for the next session, we'll like to take a little break, a 10-minute break. So right now is 10:33. So why don't we return back around 10:45, and we'll begin back right on with the workshop. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in the chat already so we can get them prepared when the Q&A session happens. Thank you. See you back at 10:45. Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We are on hold for a while.
yes, for 10 minutes. We'll be right back at 10:45.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And we are ready for our next segment of our workshop. And we would like to welcome Gionne.
Hello.
Hi, Gionne.
Good morning, everybody. And before we begin, let me just preface this with the resume portion of the training is going to probably be a little bit longer than the Career PathFinder, and resumes in and of itself are kind of boring. So I will do as much as I can to kind of soften that boring blow. But real quickly, I just want to send a shout out to Linda Choi, who's in Spain. I realized that I didn't tell you what my fun fact was, and that was traveling. So Linda, I'm very jealous of you being in Spain right now. Have some paella for me. All right, so without further ado, I will go ahead and start our presentation. So the first thing I want to do is go over the Career PathFinder. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. And go to my presentation. All right. So just a quick overview. We're going to be looking obviously at the Career PathFinder, and then we're going to go on to how to write a winning resume. Can you see it okay? Liz, can you see?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
For some reason, oh, there we go. All right, so how did the Career PathFinder come to be? Well, we realized that individuals were having a really tough time planning their next career moves because there just wasn't a lot of information out there. So we developed this to help individuals fulfill ambition and their career aspirations. There's nothing worse than, you know, having this kind of goal in mind and not really having a pathway to get there. So we realized this, and this is why we developed it. Another need was for information to be transparent. When you're looking at a job or you're trying to determine a career path, a lot of information that you need wasn't readily available. So we decided to take information such as statistics and include them in the Career PathFinder, as you'll see as I go through the demonstration. And I think most importantly, it really came from the need to retain talented employees. I think when individuals have a ownership in where they're going to go with their careers, it really helps individuals see where they could progress to, and the Career PathFinder really gives individuals steps to attain those goals. So all that comes down to retaining talented employees. So what can the Career PathFinder do for you? So obviously you can see the opportunities, you can set your career milestones, and you can actually set your career in motion. As you will see, we'll review the paths that employees have taken and help you decide what direction you want to go. And the great thing about the Career PathFinder is that if you set a path and for some reason something changes and you need to pivot, you can always utilize the career path to change with you. So it's a very flexible tool that individuals have found very helpful. It helps you set your career milestones. You can review the different career progressions that LA County employees have taken, and you can actually see those from a statistical point of view as well. And obviously set in motion. We like to encourage individuals to print out a copy of their career path, put it somewhere where they can see it so that they can continue to move forward in that direction. You know, sometimes it gets easy to kind of fall off track when things are going rough in your career, or you land on a project that just isn't what you wanted or you dreamt of. But when you have something there right in front of you that you can see and you're making progress, it really helps keep you on that path. So all right, so we're going to get to the demo real quick, and I'm going to launch it from here. I want to make sure that y'all can see it. Liz, can you confirm that you can see?
Yes. No, I see the demo slide, but not the site.
Okay, so
Good.
Let me see if I can redo.
There you go. Mhm.
All right, great. Okay, so this is obviously the Career PathFinder site. And what you want to do, let me make sure that I can scroll. Okay, so give me just 1 second. I need to redo the views here. All right, so this is the Career PathFinder landing page. And before we get into it, I just want to show you real quick that there is a little bit more information contained in here that you might find useful. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's actually a little video here that essentially encapsulates everything that I'm going to show you. But if you want to come back and you forgot some of the things or how it works, you can certainly come back here as well. And if you look here where it says career path statistics, this is really cool because it shows you the top 5 jobs explored. It also gives you the number of career paths that have been created since our launch. And what's really exciting is this bottom number here, number 3. Just about a month ago, the average number of career steps that were planned were 2, and now it's gone up to 3. So just a little bit of fun information here if you want to explore this specific page, but we'll go back up and we will start the demo. All right. All right, so first, the page asks you which job title you want to explore. And I think I'm just going to go with, let's just do account clerk 1. I haven't done this one before, so let's see how it goes. Then you push the word next, obviously. This next page, it asks how much you want to unpack. Now, this is really for individuals who want to see information that can span over 30 years or 15 years. We recommend that you do the 15-year. It's just going to give you more up-to-date information. You can certainly do the 30 years, but it'll go back a long time, and usually it's not as relevant as the 15 years. So we'll hit the 15-year. And this is where you kind of come to a little bit of a cross in the path. So we can either look at the account clerk from a launching point. So if we're an account clerk now and we want to see what jobs we can go to after, we can hit departure. Or destination, meaning this is your dream job, this is what you've aspired to, you can hit destination. We'll show you all of the jobs that precede the account clerk. So essentially what you need to do or what positions you need to hold in order to attain an account clerk 1 job. But we're going to do departure. So I click departure. Next, I'm just going to put G for my name. And this is all really personalization stuff. You can skip this, which I'm going to skip. I don't need an icon. And then when you click go, it shows you all of the different jobs that you can go to based on the account clerk. So there's a couple of pieces of information here. Obviously, you have the job title. Then we have the popularity. So 51% of individuals who have been on the account clerk 1 go to the account clerk 2. Okay. The cool thing about this too is that it gives you a salary range. So let me bump up a little bit here. All right, so if we hover over account clerk 1, it shows what the salary range is. So $3,013.56 to $4,044.36. Now this little dollar sign here, there's a difference of $331.56 between the highest level. So essentially it would be $331 between the 446 here and the 443.77 here. So if you are looking for the differences in salary, this is a really good tool to utilize. If you're looking to make that bump. Right now, if you look at the current employees, that shows how many people are on that item. So let's just say in my my path, I feel like I want to go to the account clerk 2. So if we click it, it will put another path in there. And then from here, we can see, all right, where have account clerk twos gone from or to in the county? So looks like, again, 47, almost 50% of them have gone to the accounting technician. Now, if you decide, you know what, I don't know if I qualify for the accounting technician, chances are you do, but if you want to look at what the technician does, you click that little circle, that little square, and it will bring you to the class specification. And here you go. Then you can make the determination whether or not this is something you would want to put in your career path, okay? Oops, sorry. Give me just a second. I can't seem to get back to the Pathfinder. Liz, real quick.
It's
Yeah.
the browser right there next to the other browser, the third one, browser.
So what's happening is I have an entire little panel up here that is not allowing me to get to it. So let me,
Oh, I see.
do you know how to get rid of the panel? Let me see.
View options, if you want to click on the view options at the top of your shared screen, drop down button.
I don't have that. Hold on. I have hide floating meeting controls. Okay, sorry, you guys. All right, so we're back.
Awesome.
So thank you. So if we decide that, the accounting technician really wouldn't be the best path for me, I want to go to accountant 2 and get all the money, you can put that on your path as well. Okay, so this is really a way for you to just, figure out exactly where you want to go. And it gives you the opportunity to really look at all the different areas that your skill sets could take you. So this is how it works. If you want to go maybe from the accountant 2, you can put in anywhere between 2 and 5 steps. So we'll put in accountant 3 and let's do accounting officer. Okay, so now you know what steps it would take to get to the accounting officer. You hit print report and you can figure out the rest from there. So essentially you print out your career pathfinder and stick it on your wall and promise to stay with the county for the rest of your life. So, all right. Any questions on the career pathfinder, Liz?
Yes, if anybody has any questions, please raise your hand or let us know. We can add that, or if you want to type in the chat box, that's up to you. Anybody has any questions regarding specifically for the Career Pathfinder?
Not yet.
For the Career Pathfinder, are you able to find like internships for like college students and whatnot, or is that like another separate website?
Well, we do have internships. Yeah, we have what's called the administrative intern. And if you go, hold on a second, I'm still sharing my screen. So are you able to see where it says your career starts here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if I go to the Career Pathfinder, we can do it real quick. So let me see. All right, so we have the intern. And there are a couple other internships available. There's a management fellow, but I'm just showing you the admin intern one. Okay, so here you go. You can develop a career path based on the administrative intern one. But I would, best thing to do is to subscribe to this job, and that will create a clear pathway for you to know when it becomes available. So if you click the subscribe button here, if somebody is interested in the intern program, they hit subscribe, it will alert them once this becomes available. Okay.
So are these like available for like those who are like also attending college at the same time?
No, so this one, the administrative intern, is for individuals who currently hold a degree. As far as internships are concerned, Elia, Damian, I would probably have to send that over to you for answering. Do you guys have that information?
We do have student workers and student professional workers that allow applicants to currently be attending college in order to qualify.
Okay. All right, there you go.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
If there are no questions, I just wanted to add, this is such a great tool that wasn't always available, and it's very recent. And a lot of even county employees are not aware of the tool or how to utilize it, but it definitely opens up, to view what options do I have, and actually giving yourself options or notifying yourself of options, I think is a great way to bring positivity and just to see where and what you can do with where you're at. And it's a great tool. Thank you, Jean.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so we'll get into the resume portion. Give me just a second to bring up my so can you see my screen now, or it says demo?
Yeah, we still see the career starts here.
You do. Okay,
Right.
so let me do a new share. Hold on. Okay, you can see it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so we went through the Pathfinder. So we're going to go over writing a winning resume. And again, bear with me. I will try and make it as interesting as possible. Sometimes resumes just are what they are. So what I'm going to look at today, or what we're going to look at today, is the role of the resume in the county employment process. For those people who are joining us that are not county employees, it's very, very specific when it comes to how resumes should be constructed. So it's not anything like private sector. So if you follow these guidelines, it will ensure that any type of hiring manager that could potentially see your resume will be a little more inclined to consider you for the position. We're going to look at the characteristics of effective resumes, strategies for getting started. Sometimes that's the hardest part. We're going to look at the resume styles and how to select the best one, some sections and section content. There are many, many sections that you can add on your resume. However, we want to make sure that it's limited, but we will go over that with you as well, and some tips on designing resumes as far as format and layout is concerned. So let's look at the role. There's really two areas in which the resume plays an important role. The first one is during the examination process, and then after the examination process. The resume during the examination process really comes into play more of a supplemental position, because we're really relying, as Elia and Damian said, we're really relying on you to show how you meet the minimum requirements of the job, and the resume isn't really taken into consideration unless it's looked at as something to clarify what was said on the job application. So it also assesses how applicants satisfy any desirable qualification. So if something wasn't clear on the application, they might look to the resume to kind of find that information, but they're not taking it as a whole, as really a means to say, okay, this person's going to get the job. It might help them further them in the examination process, but it really, really comes in importantly after the examination process, once it gets in front of the hiring manager. Because once the hiring manager sees it, excuse me, you've already passed the examination process. You've gotten to where you need to be to get through that process and move through that process. And now the hiring managers are going to see resumes. They're not going to look at the applications. So the resume is really what's going to help you set yourself apart from other candidates in possibly that same examination. So I would say if you're going to include a resume, which you should, in your application, that you understand that the individual that's going to be looking at it the most is the hiring manager. And I say that you need to make sure that you stand out, because a lot of times individuals will simply cut and paste information from either the job description or what they put on their application, and they'll paste it into the resume, which is a huge no-no. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but just understand that the role of the resume is very, very important, usually after the examination process. Okay, so a few characteristics of effective resumes is focus. This is one of the most important things, because it targets a specific job opportunities, and you really need to minimize or exclude irrelevant information. I can tell you how many times I've seen a resume that has information that is just completely irrelevant for the job. So it could be a management position, and they are, citing that they were a Boy Scout in, 1980, and they did X, Y, and Z, which really doesn't have anything to do with being a manager. So most of the time we find that some of the resumes lack a little bit of focus. Proper organization as well. You need to make sure that you present the most important information first and have an appropriate resume style. So again, if there is a position that you're applying for that leadership is essential, you really need to show and present how the leadership, how you have experienced, or how you have experience in leadership, and exactly the things that you have done that would show a hiring manager your ability to lead in that organization. Another thing is sound expression. You really need to describe your qualifications actively, concisely, and obviously without error. And visual appeal. I know this sounds kind of, I don't know, visual appeal means different things to different people. Some people put a lot of really kind of pretty arts and graphics on their resume. For the county, that wouldn't be essentially appropriate. We're really looking for, again, it's a little boring, it's a little stock, but as long as an individual or a hiring manager can just really look at your resume and determine whether or not you fit or would be a potential fit for the position, outside of all the kind of bells and whistles, then this is really what you need to focus on as well. Make sure that it's visually appealing. Also, when we're getting started, I think is one of the hardest parts of the resume process. As long as you understand the job that you're seeking, it's a lot easier to really tailor your resume to fit that job. You really need to make a list of your relevant education and training as well. Make another list of your skills and experience, and brainstorm on different accomplishments that illustrate your qualifications for the job. So all of this, even before you put pen to paper, we really recommend that you sit down and kind of have an introspection hour or half hour, or whatever amount of time it takes for you to really get an understanding of the job, and look at your education, training, experience, accomplishments, and really put them all together so that when it comes to actually writing the resume and looking at the job, you can kind of pick and choose what types of qualifications would be relevant for that particular job. So when we're looking at the resume styles, there's 3 different types that we're going to look at. So there's chronological, functional, and combination. Okay, so the chronological is the safest. It's the most common. It's what everybody knows. It's what everybody is comfortable with. Okay, so obviously it lists work experience in reverse chronological order. It's the easiest style to write. It clearly shows career progression, and it's perceived to be the most credible and fact-based. So real quick, we have the objective, we have the work experience in chronological order. You have your education, your certifications, your skills, and just FYI, anything like certifications and skills, this can be swapped out with any of 15 other different sections that we'll go over, or we'll briefly kind of glaze over, but understand that education and work experience are pretty much the two primary areas when we're looking at a chronological resume that must be included. Okay. On the flip side of this, a chronological resume can sometimes highlight career stagnation. It can also show gaps in employment. So for instance, if you took a summer off or you were unemployed, it could bring that to light, which isn't always the most desirable thing that a hiring manager is looking for. What we recommend is if you have a span that you have a fairly good reason why or justification why you have that long span. Some people decided they want to travel and gain experience. Other people said, you know what, I was financially able to just take some time off and enjoy life. Whatever it is, make sure that you have an answer in case that question comes up during an interview. This chronological resume, real quick as a side note, leads into what we call a master resume. So a master resume is really a list or a compilation of everything that you've done since you started working. And if you have a master resume that's 3, 4, 5 pages long, what you want to do is you want to keep that resume separate and then put together a job specific resume based on the job that you're applying for. So if you have 10 years or 20 years of experience and it's all kind of varied, you need to pick and choose the areas of education and training and qualifications to put onto that job specific resume that speaks specifically to that job. And again, it goes back to making sure that what you're putting on your resume is relevant. All right, one last thing on the chronological, it really works best for individuals who have a consistent work history, and it really shows like progression in a certain area. So for me, I use a chronological resume because I have gone from HRA1 to HRA2 to HR3. So it shows a really clear path or a progression in my career. So if I wanted to apply for the 4, it would show exactly that I have all of the requisite qualifications in order to qualify. So, all right, so the second one is called the functional resume. And this one, a lot of people haven't really heard of it, but it's really good if you have a lot of varied experiences, whereas the chronological really focuses on where you've worked and how long you've been there. The functional focuses on the types of work rather than where or how long you've been performing a certain job. And it really de-emphasizes specific job titles and employers. So I don't know if you can see very well, but the red lines really, the circles show the different areas of responsibility that this individual has become expert in. So she has leadership, innovation, fiscal operations, managing change. So notice that we don't have any real work history here. We have functional areas. And it really emphasizes achievements across your career. And it's a really good way to relate work experience to the details on the job bulletin. It is more challenging to write. However, usually if you're going for a management position or even an executive position, this one works out really well. These functional areas, as you can see, leadership, innovation, fiscal operations, managing change. These areas can even be competencies, something like change management. If it were an IT position, some of these functional areas could include like database management up here, followed by project management or software engineering. Even industries. With a functional resume, you can actually add industries in here. So you can do things such as local government, banking, retail. So the functional resume can serve a pretty varied purpose as long as you understand that this is something that it's going to focus on your areas of expertise. So it's not necessarily a where you've worked, how long you've worked, and what you've done. It's a little bit more broad than that. So It's a little more challenging to write, like we said, and it can also make it a little bit difficult for readers to grasp the specifics about your work history. If there is a lack of range in the type of work that you've performed, it can highlight that as well. So if you're going to use the functional resume, make sure that you have, varied experience in at least 4 areas like it is here. Anyway, so the bulk of this resume really focuses on the expertise. And if you look at education, it's kind of, takes about, the last quarter of the resume. So this is really, if you've got a lot of experience, then this might be something that would be good for you. And again, make sure that you have some standout accomplishments if this is the route you decide to go. And then lastly, we have what's called the combination. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a combination of the chronological and the functional. It outlines your responsibilities and your achievements within major functional areas first, and then it describes your work history in order. Okay, so we have a qualification summary here, and I'll get to that in a little bit. We have the professional expertise, we have the leadership, innovation, operations, managing change, and then we have employment history. Whereas the last one, it was just education. It gives a little bit of employment history so individuals can see what types of positions you held previously. This one is really, really good for executive type levels. And again, if there's standout accomplishments that somebody has performed, this is where it would be noted. Okay. All right. So how do you choose the best style for you? Well, it's a personal choice, obviously, but there's a couple of areas here that we've outlined. And just to quickly pause, we do have a resume guide that has all of this information as well. And I know Liz has a copy of that, and so she can hand that out to you. But the 3 styles are, the way to choose the best resume style is to kind of take some self-inventory, look at where you're at in your career. If you're kind of at the beginning or even the middle of your career, sometimes chronological might be best. If you are, if you want to stay in the same area or the same work environment, such as, human resources. So choose the functional if you have at least 10 years of varied experience. If you've changed employers frequently, or if you have gaps in your work history, functional might be a little bit better for you. If you're re-entering the job market as well, that can kind of hide those gaps that you've had in your career. And combination, again, this one is good if you don't have any employment gaps, if you have a lot of experience, and if you have some standout accomplishments as well. Okay. All right. So typical resume sections. There are 15 of them that we're not going to go through all of them. We're going to look at just a few, but all that to say, if you look at page 7 of the resume guide, you might want to make a little note here. This really lists all the different types of areas that you could technically put on your resume. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to show you real quick, just because I have it up. Here it is. Okay, can everybody see that? Liz, can you confirm?
Can we see, we're on the typical resume section. Oh, yes, now we see.
All right. So I switched it over to the resume guide that DHR puts out. So when we're talking about resume sections, there are, like I said, there's 15 of them, and these ones are listed in alphabetical order. But if you look at all the different sections that you can technically put on your resume, I would suggest that you follow the structure that's here. So if you want to list activities make sure that you look at this area to determine how you would set those activities up. If you want to do awards and honors, again, make sure that you look at how this is set up and follow these examples that we've given you. So you've got certifications and licenses, education. Education's always going to be on your resume. That's very important. Even if you have military service, if there's some type of military service that could, those skills could translate into another position, you can put that on your resume. We have objective presentations, any professional affiliations. So this is a really good guide for,
Login.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, I'm sorry. That
Oh,
was
okay. Okay, so these are really good reference points if you want to add any of these areas that could help really indicate to a hiring manager that you have the experience and the qualifications. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation. All right, again, Liz, can you confirm you can see?
Yes, we see your presentation.
Okay. So do you see where it says typical resume sections?
Yes.
Okay, and I just switched. You see that too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So next thing, this is again pretty important. These are the work experience statements. So, and again, we're speaking of the chronological resume. Or no, I'm sorry, go back. We are speaking any type of work experience statements, whether it's chronological, functional, or combination. Okay, so recognize that resume statements should be different from statements on the employment application. This is very, very important because if you look at a typical statement from an application versus a resume, you can see that the resume obviously is compact, it's focused, it's to the point. So for example, in the application, an individual could say implemented 4 statewide public relations campaigns for radio, print media to promote the agency's healthy living programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Designed metrics to evaluate the effectiveness of campaign, which resulted in 40% increase in program participation. Now, this is great for the application, but I can guarantee you that a hiring manager is not going to want to read all that. They want to really look at what packs a punch. And on the resume, you would take all of this and compact it into something like implemented 4 statewide public relations campaigns for radio and print media that resulted in a 40% increase in program participation. Okay. Another one, individualized statements. Again, do not copy the generic job description. Show what you have done. So when we're looking at these statements, we're going to follow what's called the ACB structure, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I just want you to see and understand the difference between what you would put on a job description and what you would put on the resume. So again, job description says duties include analyzing, evaluating, improving efficiency. When you're looking at a resume, hiring managers want to see something like designed and conducted a countywide study of the return to work program, which led to operational transformations that enhanced legal compliance. So as you can see, there's definitely a difference in how each of these come across. Now, granted, it kind of could be saying the same thing. However, this really kind of shows how and what the benefit of your working in that environment did. So a hiring manager can really see, okay, this is what they've done. This is the impact that they've made. So this is very, very important when you're writing your statements to really follow what's called the action context benefit statement. Okay. And again, which goes right into the next slide. So the ACB. So what is the ACB structure? Well, it's the action. So you need to state the specific action that you took. And then you need to put it in context. What was the project or assignment, or who did you interact with? And then at the end, you need to have a benefit. So what was the outcome or the result? When I was looking or listening to Elia and Damian talk about, how you have to be very clear on how you meet the minimum requirements. They were correct in that sense, but for the resume, the one thing I would add is that you must have the benefit here. Okay, so what was the outcome, or what was the result, or who was impacted. So a lot of times when we just copy things over from the job description, it really it really leaves off the benefit portion. So let's look at some examples. So example 1, what's the action? Created and delivered. In what context? A multi-model project management training for 200 entry-level employees. And the benefit, achieved a 98% participation post-test pass rate. Wow, that's hard to say. So as you can see, following this structure, I can guarantee you any hiring manager is going to get a clear idea of where your experience lies and whether or not they want to consider bringing you onto the team. So second and last example is wrote. Again, the action was wrote. The context was a feasibility study for a file sharing program. And what was the benefit? It was ultimately adopted, helped reduce paper waste by 27% and contributed to a 15% division budget surplus. So that's the ACB structure. Really, when you're setting up your resume, you want to make sure that you have 4 to 7 separate statements, no more than 2 lines. Be purposeful when ordering your statements to ensure that they're unique. Do not repeat. So if you have 4 to 7 statements and 3 of them sound exactly the same, you probably want to condense. Don't use first person. Describe the highest level of work that you've performed. So if you are a manager or you're going for a management position and you oversaw employees, you probably want to stay away from words that assisted, that would really show how you assisted somebody else. No. You want to show how you managed somebody else, or how you managed individuals, or how you managed a project. Okay, so make sure that that highest level of work experience is clear. Be factual and accurate. Don't embellish. You can get creative, but make sure that that when you write your statements, you have experience to back it up. So if they ask you, okay, well, I showed that there was a 40% increase in this, this, and this. Can you tell me the steps that you took to get there? Make sure that you have all of that information with you prior, and make sure that those facts back up those statements. Again, don't copy the bulletin, and emphasize transferable skills if necessary. So they're looking for management experience. You have management experience in retail. They're looking for management experience in human resources. But you know what? You don't know retail. I mean, you don't know human resources, you know retail, but show how the management skills could transfer into a human resources environment. Okay. Order of the resume sections. Sequence and order of importance to the reader. So obviously, who is the candidate and how is he or she qualified? So first thing we do is we put our name, our address, our contact information, and then position the strongest qualifications in the top third of the page. After your name and contact information, if you're using a qualification summary or even an objective, make sure that your strongest qualifications under work experience, or even if a functional resume is being used, that those ones are listed first. Okay, so a section order example. For a recent graduate, you would want to put your education, your internships, your skills, and your awards. Okay, so as a recent graduate, you might not have a lot of work experience yet. So your best foot forward, you're writing on your education coattails. Make sure that that you list that first. If you have any internships, show the skills that that you've acquired, and if there's any awards maybe that you won, during your collegiate career. For experienced workers, you really want to look at the qualification summary, show exactly what it is that makes you qualified for this position. And then you're going to look at your work experience and write those statements, your education, and your professional affiliations. And again, these are just examples, but I think for recent graduates, again, education is most important. And for those experienced workers, you really need to show why you qualify for the position that you're seeking. So inappropriate information, do not add hobbies and interests, don't add any personal details. Sometimes people put photographs, not for the county. That's not anything that, that would earn you any points. References have kind of gone by the wayside. At this point, if a hiring manager would like references, they will ask you during the interview, and the salary. So I believe there was a law passed that employers can't ask for salary history anymore. So that's not something that you need to put on your resume. All right, so very, very important. Sometimes we receive resumes that are 4 pages long. If you can get it to 1, maybe 2 pages at the most, never, ever, ever leave a hanging sentence or a hanging statement on page 2. So for example, if you have a 1-page resume and your last statement on that page flips over to the 2nd page, I would make sure that you adjust everything so that it's all on 1 page. So it's either 1 page, 1.5, maybe 1 3/4, or 2, but never ever anything less than 1.5, unless it's 1 page. Okay. Make sure that the headings stand out. Okay, put some, again, we're getting into the formatting now, and we're trying to make it look, you know, pleasing for a hiring manager, without getting too decorative. So the margin should be 1.5 inches. Like I said, headings need to stand out, and make sure that your statements are single spaced. Okay. Double space is just, there's too much white space, and it could look kind of floaty, as we say. Again, ensure there's enough white space. Use good judgment if you're choosing to use a template. Convert your resume to a PDF or JPEG before emailing or uploading it. Okay. Lastly, conduct a self-review. Make sure that everything that you wanted to communicate is on there, and make sure that it's appropriate as well. Another thing we like to recommend is that you ask a couple people to review it for feedback. Okay. This usually can be somebody who knows you well, like a personal, you know, maybe a relative, and then maybe a coworker. Okay, that way you can kind of get 2 different opinions, and it will help round out your resume if they have any ideas on how you can improve. Okay. And oh, lastly, gosh, I came up upon all this so quickly. Last but not least, the resume guide. As I referred to a couple minutes ago, a couple slides back, this is our resume guide. This is what it looks like. And I believe it's 32 pages, but it's a very easy read. And we highly recommend looking at this, especially if you want to get a job with the county. It really kind of gives you additional tips and tricks to tailor your resume to help you, not guarantee, but to help you format your resume so that a hiring manager in the county would be willing to look at it and, you know, possibly interview you. So here is my email address. I also have Matt Bender, who's a colleague of mine, and he does a lot of resume consults as well. So you're free to contact either him or me, or anybody usually at DHR can get you in touch with us. But if you have any questions, you can certainly contact me, or, you know, go to the resume guide and have a look at that for yourself as well. So that's it for me. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Gionne. If anybody has questions, feel free to ask in the chat or type the questions in, or you can unmute yourself. I think there's not too many of us where we'll be overlapping, so please feel free. Okay, William says, thank you, very thorough. I think he was asking for specific samples of resumes if they're available. And Gionne, if you can confirm, would some of this presentation be shared so we can share with the attendees and our members?
Yeah, I think we can share. You know, I don't know. Let me ask
You can circle back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to. I just don't know.
Yes. Okay. I think Matthew previously has shared a certain presentation, but I can see there are new points to this, which are great. And there were some modifications. So definitely great way to Anybody else has any questions? This is your time. You have all three presenters from DHR here available. That gets going. I do want to mention that the resume portion was great for myself. Oh, here's a June. It said, is this number 3 workshop at the start? What were number 1 and 2? June, we had previous workshops very similar. We had another segment on appeals, county appeals process, which was in workshop number 1. And we might bring that back if there's a need for that. And again, we'll make this recording available from now on, so that way, you know, we can have people view it at different times, you know, whenever they want to, or find it online for the need as well. As for the presenters, Gionne, if you could give us any final words, or Damian, Elia, please feel free to chime in before we wrap this up.
Yeah, you know, the county is a great place to work. So I highly recommend that if you do want to, continue your career with the county, that Career PathFinder is an amazing tool. I've used it. I've had my friends use it, and I've gone through individuals who are just coming into the county as well that had no idea even, how to apply. I think it's a very powerful tool. It's a very inspirational tool. So when you can see, all the possibilities that await you, I think it's worth having a look. So I wish you all the best. And like I said, if there's any questions that you have, you're more than welcome to give me a call if you want me to look at your resume. I can do that as well. We are going to be working with District 3, looking at all their resumes. I believe it's Sheila Kuehl's team. And so we do individual consultations. So if anybody needs one, I can certainly help.
I do.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, guys, free consultation.
Yeah,
there's a couple questions by Eddie. Are there resources to practice virtual interviews, or if there are guidelines on virtual interviews versus in-person interviews, which is very common these days? So is there anything provided maybe at the county level?
I don't think we have anything now, unless Damian and Elia, you want to chime in. They may have updated their brochures. I don't know. So at this point, I would recommend even a simple Google search. There's a lot of information out there where you could attain that information.
Yeah, it's almost like learn as you go experience. Because even during presentations, everybody has their own way of doing things, and so it's been very interesting. So I do want to share one last thing before we wrap it up. Damian, Elia, any final points you guys want to share with us, or? Okay.
I know that we've shared quite a bit of information in our presentation. And like I did say, we will share that PowerPoint with everyone. And if you do have any questions beyond what was covered today, you're more than welcome to reach out to either Ellie or myself.
Thank you, Damian. I think the great points are always because county jobs and application process and the resumes are very different from the private sector. And, all these guidelines that are provided are relative to the private sector, not necessarily what the county is looking for. And the points that you ladies have all shared are great in that sense, that we know what to put, because a lot of times I'm guilty of it, just copying over what's on my application to my resume or vice versa. And I have this one big master resume, chronological resume that I use for all the jobs. So I am guilty of that. So I think a lot of county employees do the same thing, because we are sort of lost in what does county management look for, right? Or HR looks at as an analyst who's going through all the applications, what are they looking for? And so by you sharing that information really helps to focus on what is important to put or not to put on the applications versus resumes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think too, real quick, Elizabeth, you know, and I don't know if there's people joining us from outside the county, but one distinction I want to make is that whereas in private sector, the resume is really your in, you know, that's the first thing they look at and they determine, oh my gosh, do we want to bring this person on based on their resume? That's not the case here. It's kind of flipped, you know, so they get through the application first and then the resume becomes kind of the deciding factor for a hiring manager.
Right. There's a question by June. Do you have workshop for how to take the county exam? So I think her question is there more resources on related specifically on taking the county exam? So I think
I believe we do have some exam preparation tests that an individual can take. It's on our website, hr.lacounty.gov. You just need to kind of browse a little bit, but there are areas that we will help you with that, you know, online. I believe it's under the career portion, you know, of the job search portion.
Yes, it actually is. Liz, I can actually send you the link and you can share it with the group. Yeah. There, it's online. I also wanted to address a question, I believe, about Rivs. Somebody's asking a question about Rivs. They're saying there is an app called Rivs. Apply. Is that something that DHR uses broadly to all departments? We have used Rivs in the past. Some county departments are using it. That's pretty much our video interviewing platform. So we do use it, but I'm not sure what information you're seeking. That's pretty much a platform that we use to test individuals to conduct their video interview.
Elia, just a question, is that vary from department to department, or is that DHR, or how is that?
Well, DHR uses it and some departments use it as well. Not all of them, but yeah, it's mainly DHR and then other interested county departments that are doing the video interviewing as well.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll chime in real quick. This is Eddie, and I posed that question, and it's because our department at the assessor, we did use Rivs, and I could tell you, I tested it out. It is not the easiest thing to use because questions kind of pop up and fade. And I can imagine that without practice, an applicant could get surprised and unprepared. So I found myself when I was testing it out that, you know, as I'm trying to read the question, there's like I think there was a timer of like when it was going to fade away. And then so you're supposed to think about the question and then start answering. And I found it quite intimidating. And, you know, I've been in other interviews as well where the question would be like maybe in a chat box, and then you'd have to, you know, as you're reading, you're trying to think of an answer, and then you have these people who are staring at you online. So I think it's a very daunting task, these online virtual interviews, that if you don't have practice doing it, you could get surprised and you will look unprepared. I think luckily I just, you know, for myself, it's a little bit different that I do have many years of experience, so you could draw upon those experiences. But for those who are unfamiliar with especially online interviews, I think if you could find a platform, and I don't know if DHR has something that's online that's available, but even going on maybe YouTube, getting some tips on how to interview would be helpful.
Yeah, actually, I don't know that we have anything else to help with that right now, but I do know that we are in the process of finding another platform for video interviewing. So Rivs will no longer be used. That's actually in the works right now. Don't know when that'll happen, but that's definitely happening soon. So not sure if that's good news or bad news for you, Eddie, but yeah, I could understand your perspective in terms of intimidation. I actually went through it as well, doing a video interview, and it had like a timer on the top right-hand side. So I had to answer questions, and there was like a timer, and it would ring like, hey, you're running out of time. You're running out of time. So I could definitely understand.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing I learned too is, so I think the questions that we decided to pose were in yellow. And when I did my practice responses, I had a yellow background. So I couldn't even see the questions.
Oh, wow.
So I had to move my camera in a different angle just to even see the question. So, you know, there were just a couple of different obstacles in really trying to respond. So just, yeah, so maybe moving away from ribs was a good thing, but it's understandable because I think when we were going through our mass interviewings, we was whatever platform that you guys had at the time, and that was sometime in last year, kind of the peak of the pandemic.
Likely ribs, yes. So.
Oh yeah, it's before everybody was too comfortable with everything. Everybody was still kind of like wobbly. The whole thing.
So I do have a question in the chat, but I figure I would want to kind of clarify it a little bit since we have three professionals here to talk about it. So, you know, LACAAEA has, we put together a mentorship program at one point 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And, you know, one of the keys to applying for a job that we told our mentees was to really do some research on the departments. And I would like to get your perspective on, you know, if someone's applying, whether it's an entry level or maybe like a mid-level, you know, they've been in the county for a while, they're trying to go for a higher level position. What type of research should they do to really prepare, not only for the interview, but also for their resume? Like, what are some key things that they should know about departments generally? Because I don't think, I know obviously people outside the county don't really know about county departments, but even people within the county, you know, maybe they work for one department for however many years, they don't really seem to understand like how other counties work. Do you have any recommendations on how to go about doing some research so they can prepare their resume as well as for the interview?
Well, Damian, I see you're going to take it. Go ahead.
So I was going to say our website does include a link to look at all of the different departments within the county. And so I would suggest just looking through those and seeing what the function of each of those departments is, and specific to the position that they're interested in pursuing. I would suggest using, unless, you know, if the position is open for filing, read through that job bulletin thoroughly, because it will give details of what the position is, what they'll be responsible for doing, how they will be tested, the competencies that they need to have to perform well on the job, just as much information as you can get on the position itself and what the department does. And that information can be found on our website.
Yeah, and another thing, Eddie, is when you know, when they go onto our website, we have the class specifications. So in addition to all of the information from the exam, I don't know if the exam includes these class specifications, or maybe it's the job bulletin, I'm not sure if it includes class specs, but that's also a really good resource. As well as asking individuals who work in that department, that's always a really good recommendation that that I always, you know, tell people and that I have actually done myself. So but as far as the resume, really, again, like I said in the presentation, have an understanding of the job, and whatever means that you use, whether it's, you know, the job description and the class specifications or speaking with people, make sure that you have a complete kind of 360 understanding of the job. Look at your skills and your experience and kind of marry the two together into those statements that I said that have the ACB structure. And I think that's really going to help set that resume apart, you know, when it comes to, you know, hiring managers, what they're looking for and what they see. So that would be my recommendation.
And a lot of times I just want to add, when you do get to a point where you are interviewing with the hiring managers, one of the key questions that they do ask the candidates is what their understanding is of the position.
Yeah, so that can't be overemphasized. Understanding the job, yeah.
And I will admit that when we interview people, we also ask, what do you know about our department? And if you don't know anything, it means you never even went online to check out our website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, all the websites have, well, at least all the departmental websites have pretty good information as far as, you know, what they do, what they're about, what their missions are, what their goals are. Yeah, so it's kind of basic. You know?
You know, before we move on to the next question, there was a question earlier by an individual that was asking about preparing for the actual exam. And I just wanted to provide some more information about that. So on the job bulletin under the exam plan, there will be a list of, in addition to the actual hurdles, whether it's a multiple choice test, an interview, or writing assessment, within each of those hurdles, there will be detailed information about the specific competencies that will be tested within that hurdle. So make sure you're reading the job bulletin and you know what competencies are being tested, so that when you do go to the website and attempt to use the test preparation tool, you'll know what section you want to utilize to take a practice test, because there are a lot of them listed on there. And there may be some competencies on the bulletin that are not covered under the job toolkit that we have on our website. So in addition to the toolkit that we provide, we also suggest and recommend that you use any resource available to prepare for your test.
One resource that I actually recommend is sometimes calling your local public library, right? And asking if they have any information on specific topics or competencies that you will be testing for. And some of them have pretty good, I think sciences section, they have pretty good information. So that's definitely a place you want to go to, public library, your nearest public library.
I'm writing that down, Elia. Thank you.
I do have a question myself. So it's been more common that the county has been including these personal assessment. I think that's what it's called. Can't remember exactly the title, which is online taken. It's more of a personality type of test. What are your recommendations on that and how to take it? Because I mean, it seems like it's a very repetitive. There's a notion that there's no score actually assigned to it, but yet, you know, is there a way of just, you know, being better at it maybe, or suggestions or recommendations on that? Or maybe Elia and Damian, would you guys?
Well, I believe you're referring to a work style assessment, which we call it a WSA, right? Damian, we call it WSAs. So it's a work style assessment. So essentially, it's really personality. So I can't really say how much you can study for those or how to prepare. It's really your work style, right? So as you're asked these questions, it's all about your work style. So for example, in the IT field, when we are testing for specific experience, you either have it or you don't have it. You can learn it. You have to already have it coming in. So it's really, in that scenario, it's really experience, and the work style it's pretty much your work style. So besides the information that we have online on our bulletins for, I think, our practice test links, there is some information available there, but not for every single competency. Damian, do you have anything to add about that?
No, I think you've pretty much covered that.
Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I think it's something new that the county's kind of implemented, and, you know, a lot of people ask questions as to how and what is looked at, you know, during that, because a lot of people are under the impression that it's not just work style, it's more to it than it is. But I think it's very clear as to what is expected, you know, to see on that test or assessment. Thank you. So let's see. Any other questions? Please feel free to ask. I think I want to share this one. I shared the wrong screen. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. And Thank you for being with us, and thank you to our wonderful presenters, Gionne, Elia, Damian. We'll definitely have you on our radar for our next workshops or invitations. Here is our website as well for all of you to see. And if you are interested in joining as a member or associate member, you're more than welcome to and support. We also have our newsletters and other events coming up. There's one coming up on the 27th with wonderful speakers.
Liz, I don't know what you're showing, but we see kind of a compilation of different things on your screen.
Oh, do you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
Teams and the presentation.
Okay, so it's everything. So, okay, all right. So I'll just go ahead and do this then. Let's see, that's interesting. So let me try one more time. So, is that better or is it also everything?
I see the thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right. So thank you. Yes. So this is one of our upcoming workshops. So it's not workshops, it's a speaker series, April 27th at 7 p.m. It's with Hapen M and Dr. Scorza, who is the lead currently in LA County's ARDI initiative, executive director with CEO. And so both of them will be on the Zoom call. So you guys are all welcome and more than welcome to join us for that particular event. And like I say, if you have or interested in joining AEA, here is our website. You can go ahead and just find a membership application, submit that to me. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to just email me or contact me. And with the last thing, I just want to wrap it up. Some of you might know Angela Duckworth. She is a professor and a scientist, a data analyst. So she wrote a book about grit. And I think just as a reminder to all of us, you know, who are constantly, I'm sure the people who have joined us today are looking for career changes or opportunities, or just to enhance their visibility in the county as well, or anywhere they're headed to. And, you know, some of our quotes are, when you keep searching for ways to change your situation for the better, you stand a chance of finding them. When you stop searching, assuming they can't be found, you guarantee they won. And another one is, enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. And I think endurance and keep trying and grit are all great qualifications. And they have scientific research showing that endurance, when you stick with grit, it's actually compatible to and comparable to your success rates overall in your life, career, education, and so on. So those are my last words that I want to share with everyone. And thank you, Eddie, for joining in today with us, and Venkat, who is behind the scene with all the Zoom and everything. Thank you, Venkat, and thank you all of you for joining us today. And we'll make sure we make available for you the presentations and the recordings. Anything else you want to add, Gionne, Elia, Damian?
No, thank you for having me. I really
Thank you for having us. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
All right. Well, have a wonderful Saturday.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.